Welcome to the Wonder Magic Storytime. Today's story is about Tommy the mannerless boy. In the bustling city of Metroville, there lived a boy named Tommy. He was 10 years old and came from a wealthy family. Tommy lived in a large house with his parents, who owned many businesses and always gave him whatever he wanted. From the latest toys to the fanciest gadgets, Tommy had it all. But Tommy had one big problem. He was incredibly mannerless. Tommy never said please or thank you. He would interrupt people when they were talking, leave his things lying around, and shout orders at the house staff. His parents tried to correct him a few times, but they were so busy with their work that they often let him do whatever he pleased. As a result, Tommy believed he was the most important person in the world, and everyone else should listen to him. The incident at school. At school, Tommy's behavior wasn't any better. He teased his classmates, snatched things without asking, and never helped anyone. One day during lunch, Tommy saw that his classmate Sarah had brought a delicious chocolate cake. Without even asking, he grabbed a piece and stuffed it into his mouth. "Hey, you could have asked," Sarah said angrily. "Why should I? You should be glad I wanted your cake." Tommy replied rudely. The other kids shook their heads. No one liked playing with Tommy because of his bad manners. The day everything changed. One bright Saturday morning, Tommy's parents told him they had to attend a business conference and that Tommy would spend the day with his grandpa Joe, who lived on the other side of the city. Tommy groaned loudly. He didn't like visiting his grandfather's small house. Grandpa Joe wasn't rich, and his house didn't even have a big TV. Reluctantly, Tommy went with his parents to Grandpa Joe's house. As soon as he arrived, he flopped onto the old couch and complained, "This place is so boring. What am I supposed to do here?" Grandpa Joe just smiled. "Why don't you help me in the garden, Tommy?" he suggested. "Help? Me? No way," Tommy replied, crossing his arms. Grandpa Joe didn't argue. He simply said, "All right, but remember, in my house, we treat everyone with respect." Tommy rolled his eyes. "Whatever," he muttered. The lost boy. Later that afternoon, Tommy got bored and decided to explore the neighborhood. Without telling Grandpa Joe, he wandered off into the busy streets. After walking for a while, he realized he didn't recognize anything. He was lost. Tommy started to panic. "What do I do now?" he thought. He tried asking for directions, but his rude tone scared people away. "Hey you, tell me how to get to Green Street," he barked at a shopkeeper. The shopkeeper frowned. "Young man, that's not how you ask for help. Be polite." Tommy huffed and walked away. He was getting hungrier and more scared by the minute. A lesson in kindness. Eventually, Tommy sat down on a bench, tears welling up in his eyes. A kind old woman saw him and approached. "Are you lost, dear?" she asked gently. "Yes," Tommy sniffled. "Well, let's start by introducing ourselves. What's your name?" "I'm Tommy," he said. "Can you take me to Green Street?" The woman smiled. "That's better, but what do we say when we need help?" Tommy hesitated. Then he mumbled, "Please?" "Good boy. Of course I'll help you," she said. She bought him a bottle of water and walked him to a nearby police officer. Along the way, Tommy noticed how she greeted everyone with a smile and used kind words like, thank you and excuse me. He realized people treated her kindly in return because she was so polite. The officer called Grandpa Joe, who came rushing to pick Tommy up. A changed Tommy. When Tommy got home, he hugged Grandpa Joe tightly. "I'm sorry I wandered off, Grandpa," he said, "and thank you for coming to get me." Grandpa Joe was surprised but happy to hear those words. Over the next few weeks, Tommy started to change. He remembered to say please and thank you. He helped his classmates and stopped being rude to the house staff. Slowly, people began to like being around him. One day, Sarah offered Tommy a piece of her chocolate cake without him even asking. "Wow, thanks, Sarah," Tommy said. "You're welcome," Sarah replied. "You've really changed, Tommy." Tommy smiled. He had learned an important lesson. Being kind and polite made the world a much better place. From that day on, Tommy was no longer the mannerless boy from Metroville. He became a boy everyone admired, not because he was rich, but because he had a kind heart and good manners. Thank you for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe.